Hey everyone, 365 Days of Horsemanship, day 354. So I'm a little late catching up. I've had a really nice 3 days actually. I just have been really busy and literally was like running to squeeze in my horse time. But I'm really, really happy with how everything is going. So that's really cool. So day 354. I had quite an interesting session with Mia. So we've all kind of noticed some difficulties with her getting out of the gate when other horses are being taken. And I think there's still some question over whether it's food related or whether it's herd related. I think it's kind of both, but I can't do much about the food related. So I'm kind of trying to work on the herd related stress and anxiety. So day 354, I brought her up and I brought her into the arena. I wasn't really planning to do anything. I just wanted to do her plats. And we have a lovely little pattern in the arena going, where she just like chills out and has a little nap. And whereas in the field, we can both kind of find it a little bit more difficult. And so I just really kind of wanted to just set us up for success. And if she'd have wanted to do anything, then that was fine. And as it turned out, the pattern ended up being that two of the horses who are usually the ones, who are taken when she gets stressed were actually being taken out at the same time. And so I found that she was quite stressed about them leaving, which I sort of had anticipated. And then she was quite stressed about them coming the whole way up. And I thought, yeah, there's definitely a herd related element of this to me. And so I kind of started thinking about how I was going to deal with that. I popped her in the arena. These other horses have been turned out in a different field, sort of relatively nearby. So she could still see them, but obviously she can't get to them and they're not where they normally are. And yeah, when I put her in the arena, it was like she really just needed to move her feet. And I was like, yeah, that's sure, no problem. We can do that. And what basically ended up ensuing was a little bit of running around for her, a little bit of stick to me. And she ended up having a little canter. And when she came back into me, her breathing was so fast, and like it was faster than, I've cantered her before for way longer than that and had nothing like that. And I think it was really interesting because for me it was like this realization. I was like looking at her and I was like looking at where, I was thinking about her behavior and how she was, and she was obviously like, visibly stressed throughout the whole thing, like looking around at other horses and the environment, whatever. And I'm like, you're actually having a panic attack. Like, this is like, you're hyperventilating because you're stressed. And it was really interesting to me because I think it was like, I think the pattern that she has is that she comes, she has a stressful situation, stress rises for her. Something is concerning for her in the environment or in her external life that she can't control. And emotionally, she hides from it in eating. Because when she's eating, she's distracted and she's not thinking about how anxious she feels. When she's not able to eat and that stress remains, she can either hide from it, which is where the brace comes up and the tension comes up. She can either try not to freak out about it, or if she's allowed to freak out, which is kind of what I ended up letting her do, she ends up like having this whole like panic attack episode. And it was really interesting because I think in the past, I would have been like, oh my God, like, should I have done that? Like, oh, that's really bad. But actually, I thought it was really interesting because, like, I remember Elsa saying to me once, something about watching a scary movie together. Like, sometimes when you're dealing with a horse in a situation, it can feel like you're watching a scary movie together. And if no one dies, then that's great. It's like a bonding experience. So with the right timing and with the right, like, end result, then actually that can be quite a powerful experience as long as everything goes well. And so I feel like it was probably better. My other options would have been to take her back to the field and just turn her out and just let her eat her grass and not think about it and do what she normally does. My second option would have been to stop her from moving around and say, stop moving around, stop being stressed about them, stop trying to move your feet, I need to do your plats. In which case she probably would have internalized that and ended up like quite stressed, quite tense. Or I let her run it out and see if that helps. And I think it did help. She was still, you know, her head was kind of like turning quite a lot. She wasn't quite as relaxed as she normally is, but she did find some relaxation and some sleep, and she did like let down and lick and chew a few times. And I think it was a positive experience for both of us to go to, because I was able to hold this emotional space for her where I felt very calm. I felt very in control. I'm like, yeah, I know you feel really stressed. It's okay. Don't worry. I'm here. Everything's going to be okay. Nothing bad has happened. Yes, the herd has spread out slightly, but everyone's okay. You're okay. You've had a little run. Nothing bad has happened. Nothing, you know, nobody has injured themselves. Nobody's got eaten by a mountain lion. Everything's fine. And just kind of allowing her to go through the cycle, get very stressed, and then come down again safely and come down and kind of like do it in a way where we were able to remember. There wasn't really like, I didn't feel like she was completely disconnected from me. Like she was, you know, she was running around, she was at liberty, you know, we weren't doing, you know, amazing circles or sideways or anything, but you know, we were doing it together, and I made a real effort to try to stay connected with her and try to kind of imagine that rubber band between us and just keep it kind of like not snapping. And I think that went well. And I think, you know, she did choose to come back in, and then, you know, we were able to stand together. And so that was really interesting. And that kind of got me thinking about how to deal with herd anxiety in those situations, because unfortunately it's a really difficult thing, because in the wild, it's not natural. There's no natural substitute or equivalent for the act of a herd being split. It doesn't happen, as far as I know, in any like positive way in the wild. Like the only reason that a herd would split would be if the younger horses were driven away by the younger boys, the younger stallions were driven away by an older stallion, which is going to be quite a stressful and unpleasant experience. Or if stallions had left to go to another mare, which again is not necessarily a pleasant experience. It's not going to be a safe feeling experience. And Mia, I think, is quite into her safety. It's been quite interesting recently. I had a kind of a bit of a revelation about safety, in that safety is to a large extent dependent on others, and comfort is more dependent on the self. So I encountered a challenging situation in a human relationship in my life where I suddenly felt unsafe. Emotionally, not desperately, nothing too crazy. I was just, you know, felt a little dramatic, and realized the difference between comfort and safety in my experience was actually safety is created by your surroundings. You feel safe because of the surroundings that you're in. And you can, to a certain extent, make changes to your surroundings so you are, to some extent, in control of your safety. But if you make choices about your surroundings that you believe are going to make you feel safe, and then those same choices make you then feel unsafe, that change can be quite stressful. And it can feel quite, you know, disruptive, disorientating. And I think with Mia, you know, she's very big on using comfort as a means to feel safe. But there are certain aspects of her safety, like the herd, that she cannot control. She cannot always eat enough grass to not feel stressed about the herd. And that was a really interesting moment for me to understand, because it's like, okay, in that moment, you know, safety is then kind of my responsibility is to help her feel emotionally safe. And so then I'm kind of thinking like, how can I help her feel safer when this happens? Because it's not a natural thing, but it is always going to happen. She needs to, you know, to feel okay with it. It would be better for her if she feels okay with it. So I'm going to tackle this from two angles. The first angle is a safety angle, and also it's around a boundary, because ultimately it's not safe for her to be pushing through gates and fences when other horses are leaving. That's not something that is possible in our herd because it's just not safe. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use dominance. I'm going to use a stick and a string. And I'm going to do some training with one of the older horses in the herd who's very well trained, very well behaved. And basically, I'm going to do repetitions of leaving with this horse. And I'm going to make sure that every time my hand is on that gate, every time I'm leaving with that horse, Mia is at least 15, if not 20 feet away. And she is allowed to feel however she wants to feel when she's 15 to 20 feet away, but she is not allowed to feel stressed about those horses leaving at the gate because it's not safe. You know, we've got our safety to think about. We've got the safety of the other horses to think about. Squeezing through tight gaps, you're going to get in somebody's space. You might get kicked. One of us might get kicked. You might catch yourself on a post or get yourself tangled, in the tape. Like, having high levels of stress in those small areas where things are uncontrolled and things are happening quickly is just a safety issue. And for me, safety is where I will choose to use dominance if I don't feel that I can use slower and lighter methods of training at a speed in which that I'm going to get a safe result. And it's, to a certain extent, it's the same as like being able to, administer essential veterinary treatment. It's the same as being able to catch your horse if, they run out on the road or if something happens to them, being able to catch them, for other people's safety, for other horses' safety, for your own safety, for your horse's safety. So that's something I'm going to implement. It's going to be an interesting thing for me because I think my feelings about dominance have changed quite a lot. I would say over the past probably year and a half. I've done a lot of evolution. I think I've done a lot of acceptance. I think I have a much better understanding now of when I feel comfortable using dominance and how I feel comfortable using dominance. And this for me, I always find that when I put extra pressure on, I'm really focused on my purpose with the pressure because it's the purpose that really allows me to hone in on the right timing. And for me, it's like the purpose is not to tell her off for coming near the gate. The purpose is to maintain a safe bubble for everybody. And in that bubble, her and the other horse cannot be there together because it's not safe for any of us. And that bubble happens to be at the gate where I'm opening the gate, but it's not about the gate, it's about the bubble. And that's something that I'm doing for her so that she can remain safe as well. And just having that, remembering the purpose of that rather than it being like a frustration, like get out the way, like you're making everyone unsafe. It's more of like a how can we create the pattern that never happens. So that's number one. Number two is I'm going to start going back out again on the road. I'm going to start hacking, but I'm not intending to actually hack. I'm intending to, I think what will happen is, I think just as I'm coming to kind of parallel on the road with where Larissa's property kind of finishes and you start to go kind of beyond, I have noticed consistently in the past that Mia's stress goes up. And always before, or almost always before, I've pushed through that so we can get on with our ride because I've got a ride planned, I've got a route planned, we're going to get all the way around, we're going to find some relaxation while we're out there and we're going to come back. I'm going to take a different tack this time and I'm going to directly focus on approach and retreat with the distance from the herd, because it's not the same as when another horse leaves, of course, because that's them leaving her rather than her leaving them. But I'm hoping it's going to do two things. One, it's going to facilitate opportunities for her to start thinking, using her brain, feeling curious, and then feeling better when the distance between her and her herd is larger. It's going to, I hope, if my timing is good, going to equate to her and I watching lots of scary movies together and feeling better about it. so that she builds her trust in humans and in leadership generally, which will help all of us if we have to use the stick in the line to move her away from the gate when we're trying to bring other horses in. And I'm hoping that it will also have a core impact on how concerned she is about the other horses leaving, because she will have more comfort and feel safer with them at a further distance. She'll have other horses with her. I'm hoping that, like, people talk about training being a contrast, and I'm hoping that compared to the contrast of her leaving everyone behind and being on her own with me, compared to some of her herd leaving, but the rest remaining, that actually that will be easier for her than her and I going out on our own. And therefore it won't feel so bad because she will have done things that are more difficult. So we're going to see how that works. I'm going to keep you guys updated. I might try and do some filming of that, which would be cool. See how it goes, see what the progress looks like. It'll be good for me to look at my timing on that. I think that would be a really good reason for me to do a video, because it'd be something that I would be really keen to watch back, and just to see, oh, actually here there was a moment of curiosity. Here was a moment where something changed and I could have made a different decision sooner. I think I need to really think about my timing and just work out like when I want to be supportive versus when I want to be passive with her. And the difficulties is because once I'm on board, I'm intending to do it ridden because I think it's good practice for both of us. I think it's going to be one of those things where it's just about finding. It's going to be less, it is support, but it's also kind of dominance, because I'm already in a pattern when I'm riding where if I make a suggestion, she does have to kind of go along with it. But I'm feeling like the supportive is kind of coming from the purpose. But it's probably dominance. So dominant kind of movement, versus passive flow and leadership. So yeah, so I feel really good about that. Day 354, what should I do with Lawrence? Still working on my touching distance. I think I had a bit more of a settled session with him that day, actually. Quite a quick session. I just didn't really have a massive amount of time. And yeah, just really starting to think about the winter coming in now. Starting to think about it getting colder, and rugging and exercise and all of that stuff, and kind of trying to make a plan for him that's going to be consistent this winter. I feel like my key word at the moment, where I'm at in my kind of like personal growth journey, is consistency. Is just really wanting to dig into kind of getting consistent with my training plans and with the way that I'm making plans for things. So yeah, just feeling good about it.